Scouts Own for Shackleton and Shackleton Scouts. Welcome. This Scouts Own was first held at Gilville Park, UK Scouting Headquarters at 11 a.m. on Sunday, 5th of September 2021, when a commemorative plaque to Scouts Marr and Mooney was officially unveiled. The intention is then to pass on, share and hold the Scouts Own with fellow Scouts around the world, all along the original route of Quest 1921-22 voyage, exactly 100 years after Quest arrived at each location. This will include the Antarctic Peninsula using a facsimile of the commemorative plaque. After returning from Antarctica, the Request 2021 team planned to hold a final reunion Scouts Own ceremony at Fort El Firs, Scottish Scouting Headquarters, where a replica of a commemorative plaque will also be installed. Thank you.
Commemorative plaques. The inscription on the plaque reads as follows: Remember James William Slasser Marr, 1902 to 1965, and Norman Allen Mooney, 1905 to 1945, who took part in the 1921 Shackleton's Quest expedition. Note that the official expedition name was the Shackleton Route Expedition. However, like many of the expeditions of the heroic age, it was also often referred to by the expedition ship, in this case, Quest. The larger commemorative plaque was unveiled on 5th of September 2021, marking the Request 2021 expedition to Antarctica, 100 years after two scouts sailed on Sir Ernest Shackleton's final voyage of exploration. The plaque was designed by stonemason Mark Brooks from Canterbury in Kent. A smaller replica plaque will be installed at Fort El Firs, Scout HQ, Scotland, by the Request 2021 team in 2022.
Shackleton Road Expedition of 1921 to 1922 was founded by Shackleton's school friend John Quiller Road. In September 1921, the expedition sailed on the ship Quest with plans to survey the islands and navigation routes of the southern seas. On 5th of January 1922, upon arrival at the island of South Georgia, Sir Ernest Shackleton, who was in ill health, died on board Quest.
The bosses, I knew him. An extract from the Book of the Quest, 1929, by Dr. Leonard Havesley, a member of the Sir Elliot Shackleton's last two expeditions. To have known Sir Elliot Shackleton was a privilege, but to have worked with him, shared his hardships and his adventures, and to have secured his friendship was a privilege accorded to few. I count myself very fortunate that I was one of the few. He had a great admiration for the Boy Scout movement, and so much so that he took two scouts, Marr and Mooney, with us on the last expedition, the Quest. Sir Elias was one of the greatest Englishmen that the world was ever seen, and we lost our best friend when he went. Still, we tried to carry on as he would like us to have done, and we are never tired of talking about him and hearing of him. He is still very near to us, and in carrying on his ideas and his traditions, we feel that he is attending true immortality, and that as long as the Englishmen and English boys can appreciate a true man, Shackleton's name will be held up as an example and as an idea. he would desire no fitter task than he played the game.
Scouts Marr and Mooney. The Shackleton Rowett expedition was the first polar expedition to involve Scouts. Following nationwide recruitment, Scouts Norman Mooney and James Marr were selected to join the crew of Quest. Mooney, from Orkney, was badly affected by seasickness and returned home from Madeira a few weeks into the voyage. Upon his return to Orkney in 1921, Mooney registered as a student engineer at the Royal College of Science and Technology in Glasgow. After graduation, he took on a role as a land surveyor with the Ordnance Survey based in Southampton. In 1929, Mooney passed the Colonial Survey examination and he was employed by the Colonial Office as a land surveyor in Nigeria, mapping previously uncharted areas. On the 20th of November 1945, at the age of 40, he was tragically killed when an accident occurred whilst he was out surveying. James Marr, from Aberdeen, went on to become a marine biologist and polar explorer on his own right, publishing seminal work in the natural history of Antarctic krill. In 1943, Marr was selected to lead a covert mission called Operation Tabarin. Tabarin was the predecessor of the Falklands Islands Dependency Survey, which later became the British Antarctic Survey. In 1954, Marr became one of the only 18 men to have received both the bronze and silver polar medals. In 1961, he was appointed president of the Antarctic Club. Marr died at the age of 62 from emphysema and bronchopneumonia on the 29th of April 1965 at Milford Chest Hospital, Busbridge, Surrey, after a prolonged period of illness.
Request 2021. The Kent Scouts Request 2021 Antarctic Research Project marks the centenary of the Shackleton Rowett expedition. A team of 10 scouts from Shackleton, Scotland explored the waters and islands of the Antarctic during January 2022. In keeping with the spirit of the original expedition, Request 2021 is for carrying out research projects with themes of peace, heritage and environment, and aims to leave a lasting legacy to inspire young people to explore the world around them.
10 to the power of 3. The project can be summed up as 10 to the power of 3. 10 scouting ambassadors, 8 from Kent and 2 from Scotland, sailing on a tour ship to Antarctica. Hundreds years after the original Shackleton Rowett Quest expedition back in 1921, thousands of young people engage and educate about the 3 key lessons of peace, environment and heritage to be learned from this amazing, fragile, frozen southern continent.
Shackleton's last diary entries. Ernest Shackleton died of heart failure in the early hours of the morning on the 5th of January 1922. The last diary entries recall his thoughts as the ship approached South Georgia. 1st of January 1922. Rest and calm after the storm. The year has begun kindly for us. It is curious how a certain date becomes a milestone in one's life. Christmas Day in the raging gale seemed out of place. I did not venture to hope that today would be as it was. Anxiety has been probing deeply into me, for until the end of the year things have gone awry. Engines were liable, furnace cracked, water short, heavy gales, all that physically can go wrong, but the spirit of all on board are sound and good. There are 2 points in the adventures of the diver. 1, when a beggar he prepares to plunge. One, when a prince, he rises with his pal. The 2nd of January 1922. Another wonderful day. Fine, clear, slight headwind, but cheerful for all of us after these last days of stress and strain. At 1 p.m. we pass our first berg. The old familiar sight aroused in me memories that the strenuous years have deadened. Blue cavens shone with sky glow, snatched from the heaven itself. Green spurs showed beneath the water, and bergs mast high come sailing by, as green as emerald. Ah, me, the years have gone since in the pride of young manhood I first went forth to the fight. I grow old and tired, but always lead on. The 3rd of January 1922. Another beautiful day. Fortune seems to attend us this new year, but so anxious have I been when things are going well. I wonder what in time difficulty will be sprung on me. All day long, a light wind and clear sky was our happy position. I find a difficulty in settling down to write. I am so much on the qui-vive. I pray that the furnace will hold out. Thankful that I can be crossed and thawed as a man. 4th of January 1922. At last, after 16 days of turmoil and anxiety, on a peaceful, sun-shining day, we came into anchor in Grytviken. How familiar the coast seemed as we passed down. We saw with full interest the places we struggled over after the boat journey. Now we must speed all we can, but the prospect is not too bright, for labour is scarce. The old smell of dead whale permeates everything. It is a strange and curious place. A wonderful evening. In the darkening twilight I saw a lone star hover, gem-like above the bay.
Following on, a poem by Robert Harding from the Book of Quest, 1929. Following on. Why am I here? A young lad little known to fame refilled his pipe and poked the log fire into flame. Away on the skyline found a snow-capped peak. Around him lay the desert, white and bleak. The grey gull's screams were ominous to hear. Why am I here? No answer came. The cold wind moaned, the boom of crashing ice, a sound of dread. In the fire's red glow his nimble fancy roamed, and we heroes muttered through his head, never, never, the last endeavour, never the lowered flag, and it merged with the roar of water and the blast from the icy crag. Why am I here? To do such work he nobly left behind, to tread his trail in storm and freezing wind. His ache to feel, and also strength of heart, to be like him and bear the harder part, to fight the polar mountains dark and drear. That's why I'm here.
Nothing is impossible. The Baden-Powell's introduction in The Book of the Quest, 1929. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible if we set our minds to it. 21 years before 1929, there were 25 scouts in the world. If anyone had said, well, go on and raise 2 million of them distributed in every country over the globe, one would have said, no thank you, impossible. But the Jamboree that year, 1929, will show that the impossible has been attained in the short space of 21 years. In our work, with the boys, we can do a lot to lift the poorest and the most hopeless out of their slough and give them hope and aspiration. We can hold up to them the innumerable histories of self-made successful men to whom in their early days such a future would have seemed impossible. The scout should be taught to kick the I am from the word impossible.
Let's finish with the reading of the final words from Ma's 1923 book, Into the Frozen South. And now I can hardly believe that it was all true. Yet it was true, gloriously so. I too have seen and known a land. I too have companioned with the great souls who helped to make our island's history. Sir Ernest Shackleton, Commander Frank Ball, and others, all great of heart and fearless of soul, have been my shipmates and my friends. It was a memorable year indeed, and for all time I know I must carry with me a vision of tumbling waves by day and phosphorescent breakers in the darkness, the grind and bellow of closing pack, the rush and roar of broken waters at the growler's feet, the hushed noises of the seals as they come to the surface in the still water of the pack, and always shall I see in mind's eyes the glory of the Antarctic night. And most poignant yet inspiring of all my memories, there is that of the lonely cross outlined against the whirling drive of the South Georgian fleet, the sign which remains to tell of the great spirit that led us forth and died, yet lives again, as a magnet to draw the brave away from the sleek comforts of life into that outer world of daring where men may gaze in awe upon the wonders of the Lord.